We have some news from the world of the Mass Effect TV show, or at the very least some juicy speculation. Most of the information that I know comes from accounts that I follow on Twitter. I'm not a journalist, but as far as I can tell, it all traces back to a recent report from entertainment insider Daniel Richtman, who supposedly has access to a leak on new casting information. I'm not going to attempt to discredit or dismiss any of this. The fact of the matter is, I know bugger all on the subject. That being said, I would be lying if I said it hadn't piqued my interest. So as a self-proclaimed Mass Effect expert, I'm going to peruse this information myself and add some unfounded speculation of my own. Greetings Spacefarers, Michael here. If you're new to the channel, I talk a lot of Mass Effect and other science fiction related media. If that's your sort of thing, then feel free to like this video and subscribe for more. Alright, let's have a look. The first I heard of this was whilst I was doom scrolling before bed. The account WeAreMasEffect on Twitter posted this little breakdown of the leak itself. By the way, WeAreMasEffect, I strongly recommend you go follow them if you're not following them already. They've done an excellent job of bringing an entire community of Mass Effect fans together, not just on Twitter, but also they have a Discord. I'll drop a link to their Twitter account in the description below if you'd like to go give them a follow. I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. Anyway, they've basically given us all the details that we really need. As mentioned, according to insider Daniel Richtman, several casting calls have been leaked. And I think this is just the extent of it. There's not really any, there's no proof of characters. As far as I'm aware, I don't even think there has been a script written yet. So anyone claiming that they know who exactly they're looking to cast is full of shit. But there's a lot you can infer from these. We have 5 roles, the first of which is a male aged 30 to 39, quote, young Colin Farrell, which I'm no casting expert, but if somebody happens to be one, could you let me know in the comments section if this type of overgeneralization is what we typically see when looking for an actor? I don't know, it just seems a little silly to me. Second is a female co-lead, aged 34 to 39, alien, and in parentheses, prosthetics required. I wonder who that could be. Then we have a female, 30 to 49, human, Earth parallel narrative. Then male villain lead, 40 to 60, Doug Jones type. Doug Jones type. I love Doug Jones, but it's such a shame that he is typecast as the creature guy, because, you know, I've seen him in roles where he doesn't play some kind of crazy creature, and he's great. He's not just the creature guy in my mind. Now, he's excellent as the creature guy. He's amazing as Saru from Star Trek Discovery. He's amazing. I think it's Abe Sapien, is it, in the Daredevil movies? He's just great all around when it comes to that type of role. But the poor guy can act as well. He doesn't need prosthetics. He doesn't need to be playing some kind of weird creature. That being said, if anyone was going to play like a Turian or a Solarian, Doug Jones would be the guy. And then finally we have male 30 to 49, wrestler type soldier. Wrestler type. So basically they want Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Dave Bautista. I do like that he added this little caveat at the bottom. No plot details yet, nothing official. Nothing official. Emphasis on the official. So what do I think? As I mentioned, I'm not going to get into the credibility of it. It does seem like someone who knows their Mass Effect. Let's just, for a second, assume we're going with the original trilogy characters. Young Colin Farrell type. Yeah, that's basically Commander Shepard. Female co-lead, alien prosthetics required. That's obviously Liara. Female 30 to 49, human Earth parallel narrative. That one's kind of interesting because it indicates that we're going to have a concurrent story on Earth. That would not fit necessarily with the original trilogy. Not until, at the very least, we get to Mass Effect 3, because then we do have, spoiler alert, we have the invasion, and so there is stuff happening on Earth as well as in outer space. Male villain lead, 40 to 60, Doug Jones type. So we're talking villain lead. This could only be Saren. There's not really anyone else who fits that mold. I mean, Doug Jones would definitely be playing a collector, like Harbinger, the assuming control collector, if he was to play a villain lead in in a Mass Effect 2 story. And then, as far as Mass Effect 3 is concerned, that's Kai Lang, so there's no need for Doug Jones to play that role. But again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves at this point. Male 30 to 49, wrestler type, soldier. I hesitate to say like James Vega. So again, anything Mass Effect 3 related, we shouldn't even be thinking that far ahead yet. But I think someone who fits that wrestler type mold, someone big, could be seen as an alien as well. You could have them, like it could be a Krogan. I doubt that though. It's more likely that a Krogan would be CGI, or at the very least, someone like Doug Jones, again, another like stunt actor who would be wearing heavy prosthetics with a little bit of CGI magic to touch it up. So I don't really know what it could be. Like Rex, perhaps. I don't think the age demographic is necessarily out of touch either. 30 to 39 is pretty much Commander Shepard territory, even though at the beginning of the first game they're 29, 30. It's not exactly a big difference, is it? My biggest problem with this, and again, I'm not trying to discredit it. Everywhere I look, they say, take it with a grain of salt. This is leaks. This is not fact. There's no official announcement here. But it does feel like this is the kind of rumor I would make up, But then again, if the showrunners or the casting department are people who have played Mass Effect or know Mass Effect, then, why wouldn't they have the inside scoop on the appropriate casting call to put out? Just this one right here, the female co-lead, 34 to 39, alien prosthetics required. It's just... There's no one else that could be. Unless, they're making a completely brand new story, and they just so happen to want to put in this Asari character just as a nod or a wink to the games. Liara could also alternatively fit into an original story because she is someone who lived for 100 years prior to meeting Commander Shepard, and we also know that she survives the events of Mass Effect 3. Well, she should survive, unless you've been a naughty Shepard. But yeah, the whole concept of making a TV show with Liara as one of the leads, but with a completely brand new set of characters would actually be kind of cool to me. I think that's something you could do. It would be a nice way to connect. I think even the biggest proponents of adapting the trilogy are fans of the idea of doing an adaptation that doesn't follow the games, but follows someone else and has references to the game, has connections to the game. And I've seen a lot of people floating around the idea of telling a First Contact War style story with Anderson in the lead. That would be very similar if we had Liara in the lead. The show would follow Commander Not Shepard and their sidekick Liara, who knew Commander Shepard, or doesn't know Commander Shepard yet. These kinds of things I could see happening. I get really caught up on that wrestler type soldier though. It's just such a... Let's say this leak is real, and these are the first casting calls to go out. Then it would stand to reason that these 5 roles would be, at the very least, in the top 10 of important roles in the show. So I'd be shocked if male 3049 wrestler type soldier was just some background character. I'm not saying it might not be, but it doesn't seem that way, There's only 3 of the 5 that we know for sure are prominent roles because it's in the description. Female co-lead, male villain lead. I guess it doesn't say male lead for the first one, but young Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell is an actor who typically is in a leading role, so I don't think you would use that descriptor if it wasn't for a leading role. One of the more interesting pieces of speculation I found was from an article on the website thedirect.com, and it's in reference to that second female character, the one that would be providing a parallel Earth narrative. They say, quote, "It's possible that this character will end up being a proxy for a female version of Commander Shepard stationed on Earth," which is an interesting concept, but I don't know, it's very complex, and you already have a really complex story to begin with, complex universe full of lore to unravel. Why would you want to handcuff your production so heavily like that? It doesn't make any sense to me. They do go on to say that the Mass Effect game allows players to play as a female version of Shepard as well as a male who has the same goal of defeating the Reapers. However, she has gender-specific interactions that lead to different outcomes in the game. Having a narrative set on Earth would be historic for Mass Effect since the game was primarily set in space. This would give fans an opportunity to learn more about the perspective of humans on Earth, specifically through this female character. So yeah, the writer of this article does clarify that they're not saying parallel Shepards. So you've got male Shepard story and then female Shepard. Yeah, that would be absurd. So what I'm pretty sure they are suggesting is, in order to explore some of the elements that you might be missing by not having the female Shepard, you introduce this analog character who can fill out that role. It's interesting, but I do think this underscores the issue with adapting the trilogy and why so many people might not necessarily be open to it. I don't know, this all reeks of a fandom that has been so starved of information from not just the TV show but from the games too, that they would go to lengths to have anything to discuss. Whether this information is valid or not, I just don't think there's enough to go by one way or the other. There's one of two likely scenarios at play here. Either we're getting a completely unique story, in which case nobody knows what any of this means, or we are getting an adaptation of the trilogy, and this is for male Commander Shepard, this is for Liara, this is for a as of yet unknown character, this is for Saren, and this also is for a as of yet unknown character. I'm on record as saying that I don't really care if they adapt the trilogy or not. I don't think it's an issue that Commander Shepard is integral to the player. This would simply be Amazon and their chosen writer's version of the character. If they do it justice, I will have no problem with it not being exactly like my Shepard. That being said, I do think the Fallout approach would be better. There's so many stories you could tell in the Mass Effect universe. I actually have a video on my channel detailing how I would do this. You can find the link over here somewhere. So what do you think? I personally think this is nothing more than something for desperate fans to sink their teeth into in a world where we really know nothing. Realistically, if this leak turns out to be true, it's just a framework for the casting as a whole. Remember, the one thing that we know for certain is that production hasn't even begun yet, so all of this could change. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. If you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'd love to have you on board. Keyless alive, my friends, and until next time.
I should go.